Welcome to a small green corner of Manchester. Well, okay, it's not so green, it's the winter now, but in the summer here when I was a child, I would come here to play with my brother, my sister, and there's a little stream just down there, and we'd try and catch these little fish sticklebacks or pond skaters and bugs and beetles, all that kind of stuff. And it was a very innocent, a very idyllic childhood. It was very serene, very stable, very safe. And I was very fortunate, of course, very lucky. There were no human bombshells in my life, in my childhood, that I had to deal with. There were no craters of trauma to navigate around. There were no crises or spasms of meaning or identity. And I don't say any of this with pride, just simply gratitude. Because I'm, of course, very aware that things are not always like that. Things can be very difficult. Things can be harsh, sometimes brutal. And the background scenery of our lives can dramatically shift. Things can suddenly become fundamentally different. So this set of videos, starting here in Manchester, are about how things can suddenly go wrong and how the background scenery of our lives can suddenly change. And this shift can puncture through into our local situations. Now, of course, because this is a chapter 14 on climate anxiety, the background scenery of our life that I'm going to be talking about is the background scenery of climate change. And because this is the Climate Academy, I'm not just going to dump bad news on everything and then just to walk away. We're going to look for some constructive, creative, positive things to do with stuff when it goes wrong. So this was a very safe place for me to play as a kid. And the natural world around here is almost like designed for a child. Being able to construct a swing on the tree just behind me. The water down there is just ankle deep. There are enough bugs and beetles and stuff to keep me occupied, but there were no predators that I had to be scared of. And this benign situation is broadly similar to how it was for human civilization since about 16,000 BCE. Human civilization since the start of the last glacial maximum has enjoyed the most wonderfully stable and pleasant conditions. Since 16,000 BCE, the ice has been in retreat towards the poles, and during this retreat, humans have moved forward with their culture, science, well, everything. We've built our pyramids and our empires. We've mapped the calm depths of outer space and the hyperactive orbits of the electron inside the tiniest atom. And we've painted, composed, woven, danced, partied throughout our time in the Holocene. Just look at this graph. People talk about Mesopotamia as the cradle of civilization. But if you just zoom out one step to an atmospheric level, this graph, you can see this beautifully cozy cradle for humans. A flat line in the greenhouse gases. This safe, stable zone was what made everything possible. But this background stability is now gone. The Industrial Revolution happened in the 19th century, followed by the Great Acceleration in the 1950s, and that's continued to climb and rise till today. The boom in population that we've had to over 8 billion, coupled with an awesome increase in our industrial muscularity, has done something very odd to that Holocene stability. The concentrations of greenhouse gases have swung violently, dramatically upwards into territory that's unprecedented in around 4 million years. And with just a bit of common sense and a little bit of scientific literacy, it's obvious that this funking around with the basic operating system of the Earth, and therefore funking around with our basic economy and society, is not going to end well. So the background scenery to our lives is now very different. And if you take this systems perspective, and if you're scientifically literate and you basically use your common sense, then you know that we're on the edge of pushing Earth systems over the edge, over certain tipping points. And if you're rational, that of course produces anxiety, or as we call it, climate anxiety. So this is a very reasonable thing to have if you're just looking at the data, because this nice background scenery to everything within which human civilization grew up in, that's now gone. And the future is very uncertain. And that uncertainty is, of course, especially difficult for young people who are going to have to live through the longest through the consequences of it.